Welcome to the channel, guys. So, reports reaching us now is that more than 1,000 Nigerians are set to return home as xenophobic tensions escalate in South Africa. And it reads, more than 1,000 Nigerians living in South Africa have applied for voluntary repatriation amid escalating xenophobic attacks and growing anti-immigrant sentiments, raising fresh concerns over the safety of foreign nationals in Africa's most industrialized economy. Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs disclosed that 1,094 Nigerians have so far registered to return home under a government-assisted repatriation program, marking a dramatic increase from the 130 applicants recorded when the scheme was first introduced barely a month ago. The development comes as South Africa witnesses renewed anti-foreigner protests amid violent attacks that have left several foreign nationals dead, forced hundreds to flee their homes, and revived painful memories of previous waves of xenophobic violence that stained relations between Pretoria and several African countries, including Nigeria. Officials said Nigerian and South African authorities are currently conducting a joint verification exercise to determine the eligibility of applicants before evacuation arrangements are concluded. Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesperson Kimiebi Ebianfa explained that the screening process would ensure that only qualified applicants benefit from the program, while South African authorities have agreed to waive certain penalties related to immigration violations for those approved for repatriation. A sharp rise in the number of Nigerians seeking to leave South Africa underscores growing anxiety within migrant communities as hostility towards foreign nationals intensifies. For many Nigerians, the decision to return home represents the collapse of dreams built over years of migration in search for better economic opportunities. South Africa has long remained a preferred destination for African migrants because of its relatively advanced economy, attracting workers, traders, professionals, and entrepreneurs from across the continent. However, periodic outbreak of violence, of violence, have repeatedly threatened the country's image as a regional economic powerhouse. Recent attacks in the coastal town of Mosel Bay left several people dead and dozens of homes destroyed. Mozambican authorities confirmed that some of their citizens were among the victims, while hundreds of migrants from neighboring countries have since sought refuge or returned home. The latest crisis has reignited debates over migration, unemployment, and social tensions in South Africa, where foreigners are frequently blamed by large numbers of the indigents for worsening economic hardship, crime, and pressure on public services. Campaigners and human rights organizations argue that migrants have become convenient scapegoats for deep-rooted structural challenges confronting the country, including one of the world's highest unemployment rates and widening inequality. The situation has also triggered diplomatic concerns across Africa. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has condemned xenophobic attacks and reiterated that his government is committed to protecting all residents regardless of nationality. He announced plans to dispatch special envoys across Africa and beyond to reassure partners countries and strengthen diplomatic engagement over migration-related tensions. Nevertheless, critics argue that repeated condemnations have done little to halt recurring attacks that have claimed dozens of lives over the years. Nigeria and South Africa, Africa's two largest economies, have experienced periodic diplomatic tensions rising from xenophobic violence. In 2019, widespread attacks on Foreign nationals triggered retaliatory protests in Nigeria, leading to the evacuation of hundreds of Nigerians from South Africa and renewed calls for stronger protections for African migrants. The current surge in repatriation requests suggests that many Nigerians no longer feel secure remaining in the country despite official assurances. Analysts have warned that the unfolding situation could have significant economic and diplomatic implications if not urgently addressed. Thousands of Nigerians contribute to South Africa's economy through businesses, professional services, and skilled labor, while remittances from migrants remain an important source of income for families back home. For the families of those preparing to return, however, the immediate concern is safety. As authorities finalize arrangements for the voluntary evacuation program, the growing exodus serves as a stark reminder that nearly 3 decades after the end of apartheid, xenophobia remains one of South Africa's most persistent and troubling social challenges. The departure of more than 1,000 Nigerians may be voluntary on paper, but for many, it reflects the painful reality. The search of opportunity has been overtaken by the struggle for survival. So, guys, that's a good write up. Just very few errors, but generally, that's a very good write up. And, there's something that was mentioned that is also very important. When this violence against African migrants are happening, the government of South Africa usually condemn, give assurances, say they condemn the violence and all that. But is it that they are not able to contain their people? Is it that they are not able to, is it that they don't have enough law enforcement or officers or even military officials if it gets to that point? Don't they have enough to go and make sure that violence is not carried out against foreigners, especially African migrants in this case? So the assurances is not enough. Condemning it is not enough. They have to take, more. I'm sure they are also doing as much as they can, but they have to do more in terms of protecting the lives and properties of African nationals. And if it's a thing of the government is also considering maybe repatriating or sending back some of the African migrants, then it can be done in a civilized and organized way. You can have a discussion with the governments of those places, of those countries where those African migrants are from, and you tell them that can we come into agreement and do some of these things like they are doing now with the Nigerian government, and there should be some cooperation to make sure that those people go back to their countries safely. And for these guys marching, what is your point in terms of violence? And it's just the exact case of scapegoating African migrants. There is already a structural problem. Do you really believe that if all the African migrants leave, then everything is solved? Do you really believe that if all the African migrants leave, then every you'll be able to now buy homes cheaply? Or do you feel like if they leave, you'll be able to now uh, 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 start earning much more than you're earning? Or you're able to buy homes and all that? If that, let's see how that plays out. So sometimes if you have something, if it's a structural problem, because you might see some benefits of the African migrants living, but the disadvantages will be much more. And you're supposed to weigh the both, weigh the advantages and the disadvantages. And if the disadvantages is much more, common sense should tell you that you should just, you know, stay on the side that has lower negative outcome. Because those businesses also contribute to the economy of your country. Businesses contribute because they pay taxes. They spend money on your economy also. as well as provide services. And when if people are not there to do some of those things, it doesn't mean that there are no South African locals doing that. But as long as people are doing business, as long as people are paying taxes, and forget about the people that are engaging in crime. Those ones, they should have been taken away or repatriated. If they are foreigners, they should have been repatriated long ago. Nobody is defending or speaking for those people, the ones that might be committing crime. But if people that are doing businesses, people that are working to grow your economy, what is the point of trying to bring them down? How China became successful and reduced their poverty level, because they had the largest poverty um, rate in the world, but they've reduced that drastically. And one of the main ways that they were able to do that is by creating an open door policy for investments and for businesses, whether foreign or local, for all those businesses to thrive in their country. That's why so many companies around the world was going to China to open shops and open factories, and because it was growing their economy, it was employing people, and it was also contributing to the GDP of their country, and they were able to invest. The government was able to invest all of that in also growing their economy and growing their local economy that created more jobs. And so I don't see the sense, if not just anger, or if not just frustration that you want to project on another group of people. You shouldn't go after people that are doing legal activities, people that are doing businesses, people that are investing in terms of you know doing business in the country. You shouldn't go after such people. It doesn't make sense. And even let's say, oh, it's your country, you can decide who you want there or not. Then what is your point in attacking those people? If that is inhumane, that is beyond. Now we are talking about self-hate or anti-black or anti-African um, in mindset. That's even worse now than self-hate. That is now inhumane. That is now inhumane. Even the people from different continents, they are racists everywhere. Even racists from different that have nothing to do with Africa. Some of them, most of them cannot even treat Africans that way in their country. They can protest and tell them to go, but they cannot even attack people. That is basic, civilization. That is basic human dignity. You can say go, but why are you attacking people? Why are you harming people? That is now wickedness. That is evil. So it's a good thing that Nigerians are living. I think it's a good thing that the government is able to bring some of them home, and with collaboration from South African government. I think it's a good thing because you can't just stay there and start preaching, talking against xenophobia. Your life is, your life is very important. Your safety is very important. You can be talking about against it from a safe location. So it's a good thing. More should also, if they can, more should also sign up if they've not all signed up. I know some people will say they'll just lay down until this whole thing will be over again and they'll continue. So what if you continue for another 2 years? You've continued in growing your business, doing more investment, and 2 years time, God forbid, the thing starts again. So is it not better you start right now looking for how to make a better future for yourself? If you already start right now, go. It's better to start early, to start preparing and creating another future, a stable future for yourself. What's the point of saying that you're going to escape this one? Do you know if you're going to escape the next one? Do you know when it's going to start? So I think the wisest thing to do right now in an environment where it is this type of things happen from time to time, is better for you to go right now and start creating an alternative lifestyle for yourself. preferably, most preferably in your country, most preferably in your country. But the only thing is that we have to condemn the so-called anti-foreigner protesters that are attacking and unaliving people, because that is the height of evil, taking somebody's life. There is no evil greater than that. That is evil, that is wickedness, that is demonic, that is something so evil that shouldn't taking somebody's life when the person is not trying to take yours. It's not like you're doing it in physical self defense. That is the height of wickedness. So, guys, thank you for listening to this. Tell me what you think. Please like, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you next time. Peace.